Hello all, welcome to another edition of Low Code Campfire. This is episode number 123 for November 10th, 2023. We'll talk about Base64 sound and, well, whatever else you want to talk about. That's what this whole Low Code Campfire is about, talking about what you want to talk about. We do it every Friday, 10 a.m. Central Time, this hour. And everyone is welcome. We get together and share techniques and challenges and experiences, and we encourage you to bring something to show or something that you need help with. We record all these, put them out on YouTube, youtube.com/plantanap. So we've got more than 100 episodes out there in case you're dealing with a bout of insomnia. We run this agenda week by week. We introduce ourselves in that this is given that this is a meeting format, everyone can talk and say hello, but then we go around the campfire. We do first call, we look at contributions to our campfire website, which there is one this week. We hit some of these other topics, and then after an hour or so we go into afterglow. We turn off the recording, raise a virtual adult beverage, and just enjoy each other for a few minutes. So please do jump in, show and tell, chat with us, however you want to participate. If you have any noise going on behind you, it's always great to mute. But other than that, if you have questions and topics you want to submit in advance, you can do that with this QR code or in the using the links in the emails that we send to you. So with that, I will say hello all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, everybody.
What do you think? 120 episodes? Am I getting any better at that?
Better than me.
Sounds great.
Well, gives a chance for people to assemble and get some coffee and stuff like that. Before we do first call, I wanted to mention some cancellations that we have on the books. I'm not going to be here Black Friday. I'd be surprised if you're here Black Friday, but this November 24th, we're going to take off. And then looking forward into Christmas, the Friday before, Friday after, we figured those would be low attendance days, and we'll cancel those as well. Support will be open though, so if you need anything, don't hesitate to help fill my time during the holiday weeks. We're talking about a end of year special on December 20th, so you can pencil that in. We haven't made the decision, but that's the suggestion that I'm making. And I don't know that it will be our same format as we've done in years past, but maybe an opportunity to get together and talk about things on the horizon and do it in a conversational style. Anyway, that's what I've got. And so now, what do you got? First call.
There's nothing burning on my end just yet.
Okay.
I'll wait till the last 10 minutes, then I'll remember.
Well, that is the beauty. The conversation usually sparks something.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing myself.
Okay.
I do have one question, I guess. I think I just saw a flash of your next slide. Maybe you're even going to address it, but I was just wondering, where are we with support of what level of DNN and what level of PlantanApp? Which the last we talked was 9.11.2 and 1.25.
Correct. So just talked about this. I know that this is near and dear to your heart, Don, and so I asked the product team about that this week. We are about to release 1.26. 1.26 was tested with the same 9.11. It was developed with 9.11 on board. So our next release we're not going to see an advance in DNN. For 1.27, they will pick. The developers will pick a new stable release. I think probably 9.13 or 9.13.1, and that will be the basis for the development. So we're about to start in the next couple of weeks. Start with 1.27, so I'll be able to answer that where we're going with it. But and then also, for those of you that have been around the community, you probably noticed that version 1.25 was the we've been on 125 for a long time. 126 has been a long development release. We're making plans that the advancement to 127 will be faster. So whether that'll be our return to our 6 weeks cadence, I don't know, but I would expect 6 weeks, 8 weeks that we would be to the next release and therefore the next version.
Great news. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah, that wasn't on my slide, but I wanted to make a couple of support notes. The biggest one is that there's a number of hot fixes out on 125 right now, and just encouraging you to read the notes carefully before clicking the button. Of course, I always say make a backup first before clicking the button. Not everybody does that. It surprises me that in any case, the main thing is that if you're on some of the later versions of 125, there are some hot fixes where we moved some code at some of our shared DLLs, and those get installed when you install App Builder. So the basic principle is you're going to want to install the most recent version of App Builder before you pick one of those, some feature in forms that you want to install. Installing just forms without the later App Builder might crash your site. So read the notes carefully. And internally, we're having discussions trying to avoid that circumstance where we move things mid-version. We would like that you should be able to install any hotfix at any time, but we have some dependencies in this particular one. So that's one thing. Came up this week. There is a known issue. Matt encountered it, and I see he's here today, so he can testify. But if you use server request and doing a get operation, you have the choice of either, you've got a query string and you're getting some information from some other server. You have a choice of either putting a question mark and sending your parameters on the URL, or you can use the data area and you can do something like variable name equals value, another variable name equals value, and you can pass them through there. Well, in 124 and below, that data area worked just like it was supposed to, but sometime in 125, it broke. So if you happen to use this construct, server request get data, then the current set of hotfixes that are out on 125 will impact you. If you don't use it, it's not going to bother you at all, of course, but that's one of the things that you should think about before you install the hotfixes. Easy to code around, but you got to find them, right? Just to work around is to move those parameters up onto the query string. The last support note that I wanted to mention is that, and this has been true for a while, but became clear to me with some instructions from our QA team that if you happen to make it to version App Builder 1.25.99, there's no real clear path to upgrade to get through our automated system. I have to hand you an update and you have to install it through extensions. So if any of you happen to be on 1.25.99 and want to go higher, talk to me. Okay. Questions on any of that? Great.
Hi, Dale. Jerry here.
Hey.
I'm sorry, it took me a minute to find my unmute button. The upgrade that you just said on 1.25, I have a site that I was going to actually do that this morning. If I click the checkbox that lets me install all upgrades, will that be okay? Or should I deliberately go grab that one module first and then go do the others?
Yeah, it's kind of a complex scenario. Let me see if I can find. I can't take me to. There's the question is, what version are you on right now?
And that can be answered almost rapidly. Let me
Happy to take this off support. Basically, if you're at the version where it's saying, hey, you've got to install these higher things. Let me see if I can find it while you're looking through it too.
Yeah. I'm 1.25.143, and
so
I go into my hot fixes, and I do have 6 or 7 hot fixes.
And it says if you look at the notes on any one of those, I think it's going to tell you have to make sure you get the latest version of App Builder, something along those lines.
Okay.
I think in your spot that you can check the box and say install all, and it will work. Here, the message is something like this. This module requires App Builder 125 or higher for it to work correctly. You're going to see that, I think, on some of your hotfixes. So you should be able to just click the box and install everything at once. I'm always happy to take the support question of, here's where I am, any advice, because it's easier to do that than to cause you any pain at all. So don't hesitate to ask me your specific circumstance.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I have certainly learned my lesson about backups. So
yes. Yep. So we had an interesting question that came in, and or I thought it was interesting, on Campfire, and I've got it set up here. I just added it to that. We had a thing a long time ago where somebody asked the question, hey, I want to download an image that was Base64 and display it and store it in my database. So I demonstrated a technique here in Campfire where you can put in a URL and say get URL, and it goes out and gets it, and then whatever URL that you used, and then it displays it. And so this just kind of proves that it's there. You can store that image away in your database if you want to redisplay it. Somebody asked the question or had an issue where they're trying to display sound, and so I set it up where you could test with the sound. And so same thing, it's got a URL, this alert MP3, and this is an option that I added, image versus sound. But if you say get URL, I don't know, could you hear the sound?
Mm-hmm.
Good. It goes out and gets the sound as a Base64 and then plays it. And the use case for that, we were trying to help with like if you're on a mobile device and you want to play a sound, I mean, the browsers try to limit how much you can take over and play sounds. They're trying to keep you from being annoying, and so some techniques will get around some browsers, but iOS I think is particularly stringent on this, and I don't know that we found an answer for this guy who was trying to play a sound on a page without actually somebody having to click something. So in any case, this was a step along the way that being able to go and get a sound from somewhere else and try it and play it as a Base64. Essentially, you can deliver the sound as part of the data of your page without having to go get a separate file. And we were hoping that would get around the browser restriction. So I don't know how successful we were with that, but at least we have an example if you want to, if that's ever an issue for you.
That seems really useful, Dale. I can think of circumstances where I'd want to do that too.
Well, and especially, yeah. And, some of the warnings that came with that were, size of the file could be could be at issue. You know, smaller files might make more sense, but in any case, it's entirely possible demonstrated there. If there's anybody on the call who is not part of the Campfire website and would like to be, make sure I get your email address. The idea here is you can you'll get full rights to the campfire.plantapp.com website. If we look, click the wrong button. If we look at the contributions page, there's a list of contributions made by a variety of people. And so one use of this then is that you can just click in, you can find something that you're trying to accomplish. You can go and you can see how it's been implemented by somebody else, either me or one of the community. And then since it's all there and it's working, it gives you a pattern to follow as you implement it for yourself. So if you want to participate, let me know. And not a lot of guidelines. If you want to make a contribution, you just want to. The thing is, since you have the ability to open up and take a look at the solutions, then it's just a gentleman's agreement not to break somebody else's code. Cool. All right, now that's everything that I'm brought to talk about. So now it is dependent on you. If you have anything, it's a good time.
I do have something. How do you format cards in a list to get rid of the icon and to organize the information on the card to your liking? I'm not positive how to figure that out. I fought with it for a while, and what I came up with was using under settings, there's the title and image and those things, and I ended up using those to make the card because of the formatting you already had in there, where the image is at the top of the card and then the title is a nice H1 or something. I forget what heading it is, but and that looked okay. But just wanting to list a few of the items as they were, I always had those icons that show up with it and couldn't get rid of it.
Well, let's make an example. So for those who haven't seen this before, this is my internal development system or test system, and helps me get quickly to a setup that we can start to work from. So I have a grid on a page. It's in a normal data table view. So I'm going to put it in edit mode so we can work with it. And it's just, you know, the users table, since everybody has one of those, so we can identify with it. If you put it into, so we have views, we have data table view turned on. We can also turn on card view and save. If you turn on multiple views, then you get an icon that lets you switch between card view or data table view. So that's kind of a nice feature. But then it's how is it laid out, and so we're seeing all these different fields displayed. The setup for this, you can, if you open up the cards setup, we have some special fields. So there's one for title field, subtitle field, image, description, footer. And so with none of those selected, it's just throwing all my fields out onto the card. If I say that the first name is going to be, let's say that the we'll say last name is going to be the title field and first name is the subtitle field. We'll get a little bit different look.
And just to clarify, Don, when you're talking about the icon, you're talking about the like in this case the text icon that's next to each value. Is that
Yeah,
what
the
you're,
little
yeah,
lines and then
yeah.
the field name
Mhm.
and then the values underneath it. Is there a way to style that to get rid of that stuff?
Yeah. So right. Yeah. Go ahead, Dale. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I just wanted to
So,
clarify.
and so, yeah, we'll get there. I wasn't even really working on your problem yet. I was just showing the thing. And so, let's say we want the user ID to be in the footer. So we could say the footer field is user ID. So we just see bit by bit how this builds. User ID at the bottom. So Patrick, which would you recommend? We can try and CSS it, and then I think the other thing we can do is create a formula field, right?
Yeah. So a template field is what is the direction I think I'd go, but there's
So if you do a computed field, I'm going to call this doesn't really matter what we call it, but we can have access to all the different things. So we can say display name, allow HTML, so I can do a little formatting and last name. So if we add this as we've got this as a field now, and now it shows it as the full details. And you could add any kind of formatting you want, but you still have the lines and the description, full details. I believe that on the
within in the settings, if you make that description field,
make full details, the description field. So it shows.
That's where I went with it as well. Yeah, that's exactly what I did with the. I did a mock-up for somebody, and that's how I ended up with it because I couldn't get the. I didn't know how to change the CSS of an individual field, or if that's how you wanted it to do. But it sounds like the way you want to do it is create a calculated field and then put it in the description, and that's how you get your card to look exactly the way you want.
Hey, thanks for that. I didn't know about that description field.
Yeah.
Did you just shut off the other fields?
I did. I deleted out a bunch of stuff, and so it
missed that. Okay,
removed it. So there's a lot of different looks that you can get.
Got it.
See, I still left the user ID as the footer. Maybe we'll add display name back. And make
maybe you want to add a date in there too.
Sure.
Can you put an image field on a card?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think I have an image here in the.
Yeah, it looks really nice too. You put what I did is I think it's the file ID. I have a field that has the file ID, and I put I forget how I did it, but yeah, I created a calculated field of a image tag with get file link and then the file ID, and it puts the picture at the top of the card. It looks real nice. Fills it 100%. It's like where you have the person's name here. the picture would be just above that and filled to the edges of the card.
And the other thing you can do, I believe, Dale, other than deleting the fields, is also you can edit the display of the fields. So you can tell that you can say that the fields are only available as detail. And so you can have the fields there, but not showing in the cards.
Sure. So we'll add email here.
Yeah.
And, turn it off for all but the detail view. So doesn't have an impact, it's not there, and then we can add a button that would be a inline detail, and instead of a custom detail, I'm going to use a detail view, which just says everything that's marked for a detail view is going to come up in the right sidebar. So let's see what that looks like. Now we have a details button. We get the email.
Oh, that's cool.
That details view has some options to it. So it can show in the right sidebar, left, modal, inline. I'm curious, inline and
In the card view, yeah. I can't remember what does what
I'm
your
not sure I've ever done it, but we'll find out.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
it just defaults to a right sidebar. Okay, yeah. So for anybody anybody watching this, the inline view, when you're in a data table view, shows it on the, it expands on the row below. Yeah.
So yeah, we left the ability to switch views. So that's the inline view. In data table, we go back to card view. It says I can't do that, so it's throwing it to the right. I'm just curious now. We have left permutations here. Pops the way you would expect, and then modal should pop a window. Okay, I was on the hunt for an image. Let's see if I can got one that I can grab. For illustration purposes, I have an image that looks like this. Here's the URL. So typically you would want to make a dynamic image, not the same for every one, but in our data we can add a computed field and we'll call it image quite unimaginatively. Allow HTML, and I'm going to make a out of that.
Change href to source.
Change href to src.
Allowing it to So it's there as an image at every case. Again, you'd make that typically dynamic based on the data. And then if we go to a card view and call that our image field, then it's going to move where it puts it. And it completely puts it.
You like the, what version are you on here, Dale? Is this, are you
early
all?
25, but
Oh, okay. I think
Good
that maybe that's something that was addressed what you just saw.
is it?
I think you just need the URL in an image field,
Well,
not
that was my
the
next question.
HTML.
As in the link to the.
Either a link or a
Mark's suggesting just
path.
just the URL and no no HTML. I think.
That's what I think is going to work.
Yeah, but I think that that perhaps
Might be a path instead. Sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
no. I think that I feel this feels familiar to me. Well, there you go.
Yeah, so image is expecting a path to an image.
Which of course you'd usually make that dynamic, which you said.
Yep. Now I'm just playing somebody stop.
Interesting.
Yeah, and of course now I've got this field as HTML, so it's just showing the HTML, not the image.
Right. I don't know, Dale, if this, but I feel like that this is something that is either in our system to be addressed or has been addressed, that that sometimes you want to show an image as the image in a listing, but also you want to be able to take a look at it in a detail view. So I feel like that the using HTML as in the field that you choose as the image is something that we actually have in our system, either to be addressed or it has been addressed in a later.
Well, so in hindsight, I got confused on where I was, but this system is, I think, a fully updated 125.
No, is it? Okay.
125, 167. It's very recent. Couple of hot fixes, but by the way, my system is backed up. I'm going to do the check all and install because I'm feeling brave today.
Feeling lucky.
We're fortunate to be able, with the systems we work with, to know that they were backed up earlier this morning automatically.
This might be a good time to mention, this was the exact scenario of using a listing and having data that you wanted to put into it where we wanted a formatted date to appear. You might consider it already covered since we covered it 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago. Ben provided something as a contribution to format the date for us.
Absolutely did.
Another quick question about the grid. The title automatically has a link to detail view. I didn't know about the detail view that you just described, that you can have it slide from the right or that kind of thing, which is very cool. I may switch things around, but I just let it jump to a detail page. And I do that by letting the title, the link that's in the title, be the link. So in other words, I don't bother putting a button in because I've already got a link there in the with the title field, which means that I've got this empty footer. Is there a way to get rid of the footer? Is that just trying to figure out the CSS and hiding it, or I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure you can get rid of it with CSS.
It'd be really nice if there's nothing that would be in the footer, that the code would just not have a footer.
Yes, that would make sense.
All right, so back here after upgrading. So let's start with your scenario. First of all, proving that you said the
Yeah, I'm going to jump back to my scenario. I've got it on my machine right now, and the title it has a link in it. So I'm not sure why yours doesn't.
And the title that you have is just it's not specially.
No, it's just a field. Oh, that's why it is, because the field is a file link, because it's the record. It's the main field in the file, in the record.
Yeah,
so yeah,
it's doing that for you automatically because it's a
exactly.
Because
And so that worked for me, and don't have to have that. I don't have to use that one. I'm thinking for my application, there might be some kind of a number or something that's similar to your ID that you're using, that would make sense to put there, and therefore it would make sense to have a footer. So I may want to keep it, but at this point, my mock-up that I have has this extra footer, which I certainly like to get rid of it. I don't need it.
So just to kind of mock up where you are a little bit. So we no longer have anything in footer and it's disappearing. Patrick, do you happen to know if there's any tricks beyond, like, within our settings?
I'm not aware of anything, no.
Okay, and so let's go on an adventure here. We haven't done CSS in a while. So if you inspect and point to something that you get there, so this is card footer, class card footer. If we add a class, actually, maybe a better way to do this, within the settings of the listing, we can add a CSS class. This one, I'm going to call it the Campfire CSS class. And the benefit of this is that we can style it for just this grid and not every grid on the system. Right? So we're targeting any grid that has a Campfire class. And so now we'll go again and point to this footer. It still says card footer, but somewhere should have a class. Anyway,
It'll work.
just card footer display none. Oh, that's not it. Suggestions.
The need to be campfire.
Well, I was targeting this one first.
Uh-huh.
One line lower in the CSS, there's an additional card folder class, which probably, since it's lower, is superseding your instructions.
So probably card body. I'm sorry, is this the one that you're thinking, card body?
When you were looking at card footer in the CSS class on the right-hand side, there was an additional one that was the same class. It was
Card body
trumping
was the
your
absolute wrong
instructions.
one. So let's try again. I'll try and pay closer attention to what you're saying, Mark.
Look on the right. Card footer, that's the one that already existed, and yours was just above when you created it a moment ago. And so this one was trumping your instructions. So you can just add a line to this existing class and put display none. If you make a class of it's all on its own, you can just add the exclamation point important to it to trump everything.
Uh-huh.
So it's proof that it can be done, but this would do it for everyone. So now if I wanted to target, and this is where me and CSS don't, my limitations start to play in. Is it
I think
dot
it's
campfire?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
dot campfire. Yeah, just make sure it's the right
like
place.
that. It does it. That's it. Very cool.
So where are you going to put that, Dale?
That's great questions.
Mhm.
So first of all, I'm going to copy it out so I have it. And then there's a couple of different places that you can put it. So I have that's not a permanent change. That's just an interactive change. Within, if it's page builder, within the UI settings, there's page CSS. I think I can put it here. Refresh. Gone. So that worked. And then if you're not on page builder and you wherever your theme lets you put them, I'm going to remove it from there and refresh to see that it comes back. It is back. Within custom CSS, this is site-wide. This is another place that you can put it. And so I'll just go to the bottom here and say, add a comment. But this is the file that gets loaded site-wide. And so any grid that you put a class of campfire on will now not get the footer.
Got it.
But wouldn't it be nice if there was a place in the settings on the listing to plop some CSS into, so it would show up only when needed?
That sounds interesting. Do you know of such a place?
No, but that is a feature request that I submitted quite a while ago.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for playing our game.
So, yeah, I would add a few more possible places to put that. But what were you going to say, Patrick?
So I'm assuming that it won't work in the HTML header.
Of the page?
No, in the listing settings.
So first of all, let's remove it from.
I can't remember if I've tried that or not.
I've often just dropped it in the header of a module on the page, which is not the best, but
It works, but it's a little bit clunky to go find that, and then it's
exactly.
So Dale, try to
remembering where it is and that which module that's on.
Suggestion was what?
To go into the settings of this listing. No, into the actual, yeah. And then the advanced UI settings. I can't remember if I think I've tried this before, and in the HTML header, put it in the style tag there. This is, I'm going to just preface this that it's an experiment. I can't remember for sure.
That should work.
Sounds right. Yeah, that probably will work.
So it must be loading it too late, is what I'm guessing. Did you close is it? Oh yeah, there it is. Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, I would have thought of it there too. Let's see, this is searchable here. So if we were to inspect our page, we see it. It's here someplace, but it's not treating it as you would expect.
It's getting rewritten a bit. Was that?
We might try and clean it up, see whether.
Cleaned up for security purposes? Like a form field does?
Try as minimal as possible here. Yeah, it doesn't like it there. I'm
going to offer 2 more places that I can think of where that could be placed.
Yeah.
For a quick solution, I'll just plop a form on the same page and put that same style in a static text box. And the form then is invisible. It's pretty much just delivering the CSS to the page. Ben would say that introduces some overhead to load the form on the page each time.
He would.
I would agree.
You beat me to it.
I remember what you say, Ben. Ben, go ahead and describe your alternate solution with a token.
Well, no, I was just going to say if you need to do it where it's more easily accessible, like inside a form, a module, or something like that, it'd be better to use an HTML module because that's very lightweight and you could put stylings in there. Otherwise, what I would say is put it into the advanced settings of the module. It's a little more hidden, but the advanced settings of a module under the header should be able to load it before the module loads, and then you wouldn't have an issue.
That's where
I'd
I
like to
was
see
suggesting to
which
put it.
advanced settings you're talking about. Where is that?
He's talking about the
yeah.
actual DNN
Module, yeah, DNN
module
module
setting.
settings.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on the first tab, go under advanced. And it'll say header and footer. That's where you put that kind of stuff.
Which is good. It's just a little clunky.
Right, that's what I was saying. It's kind of hidden, so you have to kind of remember that stuff is in there. So if you ever have a problem in the future, if you forget that you have stuff in the header, it might take you, a few minutes to remember and find it. But I mean, that's always worked for me. as a last resort to put it in that module header. And again, it's less overhead because you don't have to add another module or anything like that to the page. It's just, like I said, you have to remember that you have special styling in there.
Yeah, I actually use that quite a bit too. And so I remember, because I remember that I should be looking in the module settings. But it does make sense to me that there should just be an easy place in the settings of the action grid to drop some of that in there.
Good. So we've illustrated, and just to, I guess, close the loop, it was the last one that you were suggesting was, no, not there. The settings of the module, correct?
Uh-huh.
In module
Down
settings.
where, yeah.
Under advanced settings.
There you go.
In that
Put a
header.
same. And again,
The only other thing I could think of, and I'm not 100%. Oh, well, actually, that would only work in a form. Sorry, never mind. Not a grid.
Although, so, now that we're here, this kind of brings up a different use case, which is kind of fun if you do it here. And so let's, I'm sorry, I have it on the CSS form at the moment. I'm going to false this out so that it doesn't show, and I'm going to copy it. So the thought was we could put it here and update, and it would. So this is another place to put it. All right. So it's there and it's not visible. So just pointing out for those who haven't used the feature before that there is this start date. Crap. Never mind. I was going to say you could conditionally hide it and have a footer show up at the appropriate day. That would probably be something more form based, because these things are going to impact the whole module, which is
Right.
clever, but not what I was trying to do.
You could do that with an HTML module.
Yes,
You had
there
that style tag right in the HTML module content.
and then then turn it on. Conditionally turn it on and off, so it would be kind of fun to be able to have a footer when you want a footer.
That's
Not when you on other times.
It could be fun sometimes.
Could you put a token in those start and end dates if you did that?
Yes.
I'm not sure that calculates tokens, does it?
Let's find out. If we first of all,
I know the header footer won't. I would highly doubt that any of these would calculate tokens.
Make sure you check the box. Well, that would be in an HTML module.
Yeah, I think that I think there's something you can add to your
Theme.
to have token replacement within these settings. There's a
yeah, but there is a thing, and I think I've got it. I think I've got it enabled here. It's just that it might only be certain, like the page name. So, like, we go back here, and this is module title.
I was thinking of Mark's HTML module. If you could put a token in the start and end date, then you could give people a warning. Hey, you have 2 days left to do something. Show a footer based on a condition.
Yep. And there's no question that you could do it on the form, because you can display or not display this conditionally. So you could do any kind of computation that you wanted for that user and include it or not here. So anyway,
Isn't there a if I'm not mistaken, I know it works for JavaScript, but I don't believe I've ever tried. I have tried it for CSS. There's an action on forms that you could do during the event levels, like at form load, that can load a file.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you put this styling into a text file, CSS file, you can load it on page and then put a condition on that load to only load when you want it to. So I mean, it's still, again, it's adding overhead because you're putting an entire form up there, but it's going to give you a lot more flexibility on when to show something.
Yep. So load static files is the thing. So you could have special CSS. You could have Christmas CSS come up, right?
You could do that with a static text box as well.
Sure. And so I was just going to illustrate here. If the display, we'll call it display footer, is no, then turn it off. And so that's going to show it as a control here. So I got to clean up some of my other stuff. We have this one that we're turning off. We're not doing it in the advanced settings of the module. And in the CSS form that we created, I'm going to save this, and it's going to do it based on display footer equals no. So we have the footer. And so whatever condition that you could think of that you can conditionalize that line in CSS, you can get some in the form. Anyway.
Cool.
That's nice. Mhm.
And in the same way, you could be dynamic, right? So if you want, I mean, we're just hiding it or showing it, but you could add a background to it. So it's always displaying, but maybe sometimes you make it black or red or whatever.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, on and on. Cool. I think we beat that one up. We have 2 minutes left. So what else?
Real quick, I wanted to clarify something I said earlier, Dale, when I was saying that I thought that we had a ticketing system where, about image fields and being able to do a, formatted HTML is also, I think it is actually, what I was remembering was about using a file ID. So previously you couldn't use a file ID in an image field in a card view, but we did a fix where it allows you to you can have a file ID passed in now, and the image will show as the so it doesn't have to be a a link. It can be a file
path.
ID as well. Yeah.
And is that then just a numeric ID?
Yeah. Yeah. So you can take your, so if you have an entity where you're saving your image as a file ID, a file ID, you can pull that in as your image that's showing in the in your card view.
That's nice. It's
Great.
more reliable than the path.
Great. With that, we coast into the top of the hour. So let me do this and invite you to hang around for a few minutes for Afterglow. We'll turn off the recording, but thanks for joining us today.